working. And
It's
I had just a
perfect.
short question
Yes.
before we continue
Yeah.
about what I just did when we corrected my database.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, it's like we dropped the entire database, and then what happens then, just in case, because I had some other data in there,
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't just one, and is that really the right way, like, of dropping the entire database, just in case, like, you'd already saved a lot of other data, and then something like this happens? What do you do then? Do you do some kind of backup, or I don't know?
Yeah, exactly. When it's in the part of development, yeah, your database, it can get corrupted like this. It happen often like this because you're changing stuff, you're testing stuff, and so on. It's in the part of development, and it's okay totally because when you develop, there is no real data. For example, user Savin with 123 password. It's not real, and you're just testing. And if it's okay, if it's gone. But when then everything is working and you tested everything and your application is ready, then it goes to the like real word and then not deployment. What is the word for that? It goes for deployment actually in the live market. Then it won't get corrupted because everything is working now, your database is happy, the real data comes, people register and so on. Because you don't change your schema. Let's say after a while, after 2-3 months, no, I need more, I need to change my schema. I need to add some other stuff to my schema. Yeah? Then this means you are changing your schema and it could corrupt your data. Now, because you have real users in your database, you don't want to lose them. At that moment exactly, so to say, we say you dump your database. Dumping database is like getting a backup, so to say. Before you do any changes, then you have to first dump your database or make a backup, and then you do changes. If something goes wrong, you have your backup. And how to dump a database, you can do it with your code, or you can just manually go to the MongoDB and just make a backup. There is a button for that. Just download all the information. I'm gonna ask Copilot. No, wait, don't do anything. Wait, I'm gonna ask you something. How can I have a backup of my Mongoose database collection or whatever? Yeah, Mongo dump actually. That's the command that you can use. Mongo dump --db and then your database name. Your database name in this case is test. That's test that you see it. And then you can choose the collection. Which collection? The collection is users. And with flag out, and then you can give it where to be saved. And then you can give it address where you want to save it in your computer. Does that make sense?
Oh yes, sure.
Yeah.
Good to know something like that. Yeah.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Good questions. Yeah. So, whenever you feel something doesn't work the way that it does, then it means it could be your database got corrupted. You just have to drop it and start from scratch. There are sometimes you've seen that, for example, you register in a website, you have there, and you update your stuff, you update your information, your profile. Let's say you go to that profile of the website, you want to change your address. yeah, and somehow they gather information about your old addresses, the old ones that you had. Let's say you were living now before in the Berlin, you register there in, let's say, your TECA insurance website, and you move somewhere else and you want to tell them, hey, I have changed my address. Yeah, so they want to update your address, and somehow they want to get track of your old addresses. Let's say Sabine was before living here, that was the main address, and now they want to change the address to, for example, Hamburg, yeah, something like that. And they needed to get track of also your old addresses somehow. They want to have it. In this case, you can get track of all this stuff actually. For example, they have another parameter as a, let's say, in the schema, let's say old addresses, something like that. Old addresses. I'm not sure if it's correct spelled, but you know what I mean. There could be something like this, that the type definitely is the same type of the schema, like address schema that you have, this one. Yeah, but this could be, because it's old addresses, it could be a couple of addresses you've changed and they want to get track of that. They can save it somewhere in the old addresses, and they can just, it should be an array of addresses, because old addresses is not just one, it should be an array of old addresses. Yeah, so it could be they do something like this, array of old addresses. That is also highly used, or it's so common. How it works, I'm going to test it now that you see. Or you've seen when you, for example, when you change your password somewhere, I don't know, for example Google, you change your Google password, then you use the same password or old password that you use. They say, hey, one time you used this password, please choose a new password. How they know it? They gather your old passwords actually somewhere in their database. It could be, again, something like this. If you want to get track of all of this information, you can add more stuff. You can say old passwords, and what they do actually, it's like, in this case, the password is not a subschema. Password is just normal string, and the type is a string. Anyway, and what they do is an array of old passwords. Like, it's not just only one, it's array of strings, an array of old passwords, so to say. These things can, yeah, passwords, something like that. This thing you can gather information if you want. Yeah, that's the way how they do it, so to say. Let's test it. I don't want to make them required because they're not important, but if you want them, you can make them required, but let's test it. Let's say the main address is this one, and let's say the old addresses that this person had was old addresses. So that's an object. I just want to copy and paste to be a bit faster, this one, and just change stuff. All right, I'm going to change da, da, da. And that's New York, and that's US. All right. It could be like this. This person has a main address, but before had another address. And oh, we have it in database. Sabine, let's say, I see names Shinedo here. Bang. So this looks like this now. You can see we have username of password of this person. This person has a main address, and the old addresses, you can see how it looks. It's an array now, because we defined in our database that should be an array of addresses, and we have only one old address for this person. And old passwords we didn't gather. But anyway, you can gather this information later when you update a password, update a user. You can save this old password that they had. Password. It should be exactly how you defined it here, old passwords. I'm going to copy and paste. And then don't forget to put comma here. So old passwords, let's say this person had a couple of times, I don't know, some bunch of stuff. So the old password could be da, 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 and then, because it's saving now, because in reality you update this person, because this saving is a new user. But anyway, I'm going to show you how it will be. But in reality, it will be an endpoint that is responsible for updating, and you grab this person Shinedu, and if they want to change the password, you take the new password, you save it there, instead of this you just replace it to this, and you take this, so to say, and put it inside of the old passwords. Yeah, that's how it works. We will do this when we go to update maybe. And Shinedu, sorry, I cannot register you. Let's register someone else. Let me see names. Osama. Right? So let's save. And it looks something like this in your database. When you search for Osama, for getting the details about this person, then you see that, oh, Osama has this username, password, this is the address of Osama. Before they had this address, they were living here, and one time they had this as an old password, let's say. Yeah, this is these things that you can add to your schema if you need. But the main thing is that you know what is the subschema. The subschema is another schema that is related to your main schema, which is here user, and that subschema, if you have a bunch of information that has more information, like here, address has a lot of parameters. In that case, it's good that you just separate it. You just separate it, put it in another schema, and use that schema as a subschema. That's all about subschema. Is that clear, everything I'm telling, or no?
Yeah, sure. I find it good. Yes.
Yeah, that's great. All right, that's about subschema, and nothing special. We have still time, 1 hour almost, and I would like to do something. We continue creating 2 endpoints. I want to create 2 endpoints. One for deleting a specific user, and also another one for deleting everything from my database. Why? Because when your database is corrupted, what happened to Okile? Then you have to go to log in to MongoDB, find that, and then drop collection. It takes time. Yeah, We don't want to do this. We can do it in our code. If it's corrupted, we say delete everything. I want to start from scratch. That could be an endpoint for you. Yeah. Let's do this. The first thing is I want to create an endpoint that can delete a specific user. And I want you to help me to do that. You were about to say what? I can read your minds now.
No, I was just about to say what you just said right now. Yeah, it's okay.
That's great then. So, how can I create another endpoint for deleting a specific user? I have this endpoint for getting all the users. I have this endpoint for saving a user in database. I have this endpoint for getting a specific user with the ID. I need another endpoint for deleting a specific user. How can I do this? What is the steps?
First of all, we need use.delete.
We need what?
Function.
Which function?
User. Okay, thanks, Jakub. User router.
Yeah, I can chain it without you writing. You can do that, but straight ahead because we write it like. Because I can get rid of this, but it's completely right to write this. Yes. Dot.
Delete.
Create.
Delete.
Delete. Nice.
And then we delete from ID.
We delete from ID. This means I expect an ID with colon in the request that is coming. Fantastic.
And then comma, async. Request, respond, and next.
Fantastic. Response and then next, which is for our error handler, and then our error function. Fantastic. Your endpoint is ready. Now you want to complete it. All right. When we want to delete a resource or a data or whatever, a user, then it should be specific. The database needs to know who. And to know who, that's why we have the ID always, the ID of that person, which is so unique. We did it yesterday. We could add the ID into the request and we could get the ID with direct.params. We get that ID from the request and we go to the database, we say, hey, delete this one, please. Yeah, this is a procedure. So the same thing. This means when I delete request is coming to http //localhost. My port is 777. And then I think we used in the server API /users, I think, correct? If I remember. Yeah. /API/users /users, and then after that we expect an ID. So that could be the ID of a user. We can grab that ID with rect.params. So we can say, let's save it to a variable this time to be a bit different. I can do this. Does this line make sense to you? And what is it called?
destructuring?
Yes, fantastic. Direct.params, it's an object with an ID inside, and I just take that ID or destructure that ID from the params. Great. Want to console log it to see? Let's console log it to see how it looks. Let's console log ID. So that will be whatever we put at the end of it. So we don't do anything now. We don't send a response. We don't use next, nothing. And when a request comes here, definitely you will see here waiting forever because we don't send any response. But we just want to see the console log for now. Let's make the request to this endpoint. So somewhere here, after getting a specific user, separate it with 3 hashtags, and then for the next one, we want to delete or make a delete request to http /start with local host 7777 API /users / let's say that's an ID of a user. This request goes to exactly to this endpoint because it's a delete method, and the address exactly matches so far till here, so it comes here. Direct.params, we take it, we destructure ID out of it, and we console log it. Bang! You would see successfully we did that. And our request logger middleware that we created in the morning, it console logs now what type of method was it, this request. It was delete, to which path it was. It was to /API /users /ID /API /users /ID. So it came exactly here. All right, we have access to the ID. We can grab the ID and now go to the database. Let's see, const delete. I'm gonna save it into a variable to see what it returns anyway. Delete one or delete user equals to wait. So what should I use here? What tool we need to talk to database? Here, what should be? User model, exactly. That's the model that's doing the job for us. User model dot. Now we need a function for deleting because we already know find one by ID, which is finding one by ID. It's create for saving. This is for finding everything. And there should be delete. Delete many, delete one. We don't want to delete many because it deletes everything. We want to delete one. Is there any delete? Find by ID or delete one? There is something like that, I remember. Find by ID and delete. Yeah. Also, we can use this. Find by ID and delete. Both of them you can use. So it first finds it by ID and deletes that, so to say. Let's use this. Let's see how it works. What we need to provide here. Let's see the structure. All right. It's telling that you need to pass the ID. That must be an object ID. Object ID is the special ID that the MongoDB creates into the database. And it could be any type. Any type means you can pass it as a string, you can pass it as an object, you know, so you have a way of adding that. So we want to pass it as a string like this, as it is. So I'm going to pass the ID here. ID, this ID that we took it. and let's console log what we receive. Still, I'm not sending any requests. You can see it's for the previous one, it's waiting forever. Let's console log what is this delete user bringing us. I think it throws error. Who can say why? If I now make this request, if I make this request, why it can give us error? Or maybe not, but could be error. Because this ID that I put here, it's not real ID. I just mumbo jumbo, I put it here. And we give a garbage ID to the database, and let's see how database behaves. I'm gonna make the request. Yeah, error. The error is cast to object ID. If you remember, casting in programming means converting. MongoDB says, I tried to convert this ID that you gave me to object ID, but failed. This thing that you gave me, I don't know what is it. Yeah, so that was why it gave you an error. This means we need to provide in the request a real ID of a user. How can I bring a real ID of a user? I'm going to try to get all of the users that I have, and I'm going to choose one of them. I'm going to delete I want to delete me. So this is the ID of J. Copy that and put it into the request. All right. Let's now test. So it goes there and we console log what was returned. Bang. It exactly returns what was deleted. Like, it's like confirming, yeah, this is the answer, I deleted that. Now, so it's funny. It's like this function returns the object or the user that was deleted from the database. Now, if I try to get to confirm all the users, J must not be there. And we have Mazan, we have Shini, we have Mickey, Okile, Savin with W, Savin with V, Shnedu, Osama, and that's it. So J is gone, is already deleted. What if I try again, delete this J again? The same request. All right, let's see what we receive here. Because it doesn't exist now anymore. I don't have this person anymore. And I want to again say delete it. And let's see the console log. Bang. You see, it's returning null. Yeah. Based on always, you have to check. Based on what this line, the operation does, you need to check all the if conditions. Like, if it returns null, this means it didn't delete anything. Yeah, you have to tell it to your front end. Or if it returned the object itself, then it means it deleted that. Then you can say, hey, front end, I deleted successfully. Based on all of these cases, you have to respond back a good thing to your front end. All right. Yeah, let's do this. We can use some if condition. You can say if deleted user, if delete user variable. Oh, come on, give me If delete user is true, this means if it's giving me an object, then everything is fine. I want to send a response. I'm going to say res.status is 200, and I'm going to send, let's send just a successful message as a response. Message, user successfully deleted, or something like better, one user or the user, I don't know. Or you can do something else. You can say, if there is no delete user, like if it's false or null also a falsy thing, you can say if this thing is null, then send, instead of response of successfully, you can take it as an error, yeah, and you can use next with that. You can use next, because this next was stopping the process, sending the error to our global error handler. You can do something like this. You can say status, because if it didn't delete anything, it could be it didn't find the user. Status. And if it didn't find, not find is 404 actually. And then you can have a message for your error. You can write, it was not actual error that we say error.message. It was just you handle the situations based on this. Because it was null, it means it couldn't find it or it didn't delete anything. Then you can put a like manual message yourself. You can say that the user was not found. Something like that. And return. You have to make sure that after next you return. You stop the process here, that it shouldn't continue your process. Yeah? Because you will have else here. If you use else keyword, then you don't need the return. But I usually, the way that I code is I use if, whatever I want to do, I do, and I stop the process here that it doesn't go, and then I don't need the else. I can just write the else here. Because I'm sure if it went inside of this block, I stop it with return, and it never comes out of it. Yeah. Here this means it was successfully actually deleted. I send the response then here. Res status deleting successfully, which status code it should have. I'm gonna use 200 success. Sorry?
I was saying 204 or 2?
I think it's 204. 204 is for, it doesn't send anything then anymore. It just sends the status code. Let's test this and you will see what I mean. It's just 204, but I don't like to use 204. If you put a message, let's say here, for your frontend, that your frontend knows that it was deleted, you can say user is deleted. Okay? If you use 204, 204 means no content. This means this content that you're sending, it never be sent there. It's just only the 204. Let's test it. So we have a very nice, for now, because we still not handling in the errors, try and catch. Because if something goes wrong and throws error, your app is crashed. You have to use try and catch anyway. We will complete that, but let's see, let's test it. I know the J is gone. This is the username of J. So what it happens, it returns null because couldn't find it, and we handle that. If it's returned false, if it's false or null, then I'm gonna build a nice error with next send it to my global error handler. My global error handler receives that and sends a response. And I stop the process here. It never goes here. If it was deleted successfully, then it never goes here. It comes here and sends a response. Hey, I deleted that. Let's test it. Bang. The user was not found. Fantastic. It's working perfectly. 404. Let's delete another one. Let's see. Sorry guys, if I choose your name, it's not a personal thing. Okay, it's just learning purposes. Let's use this Savine with W. It's no one here. I'm gonna delete Savine with W. So I took the ID of Savine and just replace it here. So this ID exists in my database. It's Savine with W. I want to delete it. And the request comes here. This line is going to delete it. And it returns an object. And because it returns an object, it's true. So here never goes inside, because if it's false or null, goes there. So it never goes there. It comes to this line and sends the response. But we don't see this message. We see just 204. Let's test it. Bang. Fantastic. You see, the 204 means no content. Even whatever you send as a message or whatever you put here, it never sends it. Because 204 meaning no content. I don't want to send no content. That's it. Yeah, that's why I don't like to use 204. There are people that use it. I would like to send also this message that it was successfully deleted. So I'm going to use 200, that it allows also this content to be sent. Let's test it again. The same user, definitely I get error because now it's gone. So I get error, user not found. I'm going to delete another user. So let's get all the users. This time, just the dictionary. So I'm going to replace it here. That's the Schnedu's ID. Now this time when I delete it, it's going to find it deleted that. It's true. It gives me the object. It comes jump back here. Response is 200 status and with a message, nice message that my front end knows. Okay, perfect. And now we can see the message going also. User is deleted with 200. Okay. Makes sense so far. All right.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
What would happen if you had put return before the next?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me delete this and let's test it. That's a very good question. What happens if I don't put return and just now let's test it? I know I don't have Shinedu anymore. I just deleted that. And it goes here. Yeah, sends error. And let's see what happens next. Bang. Okay, fantastic. The first thing was correct. You can see it went here and said the user not found. The response goes there successfully. Oh, no. It went here, actually. User is deleted, is telling you that. Okay? But it shouldn't be like that because I don't have this user. Look at that. One more time. Bang. Again, it says user is deleted. And you can see some error happening here. And that error is telling you that error HTTP headers sent cannot set headers after they are sent to the client. In a plain English, if I want to translate that, your front end, your back end. Do you remember? The front end sends a request and receives a response. Fantastic. That's the cycle of request and response. And then connection is gone. It's disconnected, gone forever. So what happens behind the scene here? This is one response. Yeah, this is a response that goes to global error handler and as an error, but it's a response as an error. This is one response here. Another response, which is a good one, was successfully done, is here. Two responses. What is happening behind the scene is like delete Shinedo. That's the request. The server is going to do the job, is going to go to the database, tell your database, hey, delete Shinedo. Database brings back null. It says, I don't have it. Yeah? It goes to your if condition, if it's null, true error. So this means it sends the error back. The server sends the error back as a response, says, hey, Shinedo doesn't exist, I don't have it. And comes out of that, because we don't have return here, it comes out of that and sends the real response again and says, hey, deleted successfully, because we don't have return. And you can see two responses goes. But it was stopped here, the connection, where the stop, like the first response as an error went, and then it goes to send another response. It says, come on, you cannot do that. Just only one response. You cannot, basically this error is telling that. It's already is sent to the client one response and you cannot do again. That's happening exactly here. This was triggered and you send the response as an error, and because you don't have return here, it comes out and again does that. And because two responses happens, you receive this one and the last one also will be triggered and it will be sent to the front end, and it's 200. That's wrong. You didn't delete anything. That's why you have to stop the process exactly here if you don't want to continue. When you have an error like this, that you handle it with if condition, after next, stop it. That's why now, if I do that, dang, no error, and I receive the exact thing that should I receive. Make sense? Fantastic. That's the delete. And don't forget about try and catch, because you are not still handling the real error that could happen. This means everything you do, you want your try catch. Whatever you do, you're gonna try all of this and make sure it's nicely indented inside. All right. If something goes wrong, during these operations, like whatever, I don't know, like the example that we had, potato function, you need to grab this or catch this error. So whatever happens during this operation, if an error happens, it comes here, we catch it. When we catch it, we're going to say next. Again, we're going to prepare the error. This time, status. I don't know, it could be anything. I'm going to blame again front end for that. and a message of the error, which is this time, it's not my own message like here, because here I created my own message based on the conditions that we have. But here it could be an error that happened, we don't know what was that. Then I'm going to use that error.message. And that's it. You don't need next here because after that there is nothing to be run. Yeah? Anyway, if you do return or not, doesn't matter. Here you need the return because after that you have some block of code that is running. Let's test it now again. So we have created deliberately a potato error. So when the request goes there, we are successfully catching the potato error now. Error, potato is not defined. All right, it jumps here and creates that 400. So let's get rid of the potato and everything's fine. That's the delete endpoint. We have still time. I want to do the deleting of your database when it's corrupted, that you don't have to then go to log in the website of MongoDB, what Okila did. So it takes time. I'm lazy to do that, so I will always do it with one endpoint, actually. But before that, is it so far clear? Are you loving the backend or not now? Because I love backend. I hope you love it also. Oh, see some reactions. That's great. All right, then let's, because this endpoint that we want to create is not reality. You don't want it in your real production application or website. Yeah, you don't want an endpoint that it deletes everything. It's just when you are developing, you can have this endpoint. It's useful because if you want to delete or empty your database and start from scratch, this is a good thing. So we want to delete everything, and it's again an endpoint responsible for deleting. So this means that's a delete method anyway. When a request is coming to, it's a delete. When a request is coming to this, I don't need an ID or anything like this because I don't want to delete a specific user. I want to delete everything. So this means I just keep it like to the root. When a delete request coming to localhost / till so far here. When a request, which is a delete method, coming to localhost 77 / API / users, then it comes here. This means this. I want to handle that. Sorry, async rec res next. We just want to delete everything. Yeah, so deleting everything is, anyway, I need my model. So I'm going to say await user model, which is doing the job. There is a function inside of this user model, and you saw it already, I think. Delete one, which is deleting one thing, or delete many. That's the one. Delete many is for deleting everything. You can have some filters even if you want to delete all the users that the user let's say inside of our schema, what we have, username, password. If you have a section like verified is, let's say, false, yeah, we don't have this part in our schema. We don't have verified section, but anyway, let's say if you have it, you say, hey, I want to delete all the users that they didn't verify it. You can do something like filtering, something like that. Or no filtering, it means delete everything, delete all the users that I have. In this case, if your database is corrupted and doesn't work and you want to empty your collection of all of your users, then you don't need to go log in. You just make a request to this endpoint and this endpoint does the job for you. And after that, you can send a response. Dot status, let's say, and definitely use try and catch, but I'm lazy to do it now, but you know, every endpoint try and catch the error or whatever. 200 and then dot send let's put just a normal message here. Let's say, yeah, all users are deleted. All right. Again, we need to have another request, a separate request. Let's separate it with 3 hashtags. I'm going to just copy this one and paste it here, but without any ID. It's just a straight ahead going to our endpoint. That's a delete method. That's a delete method. API/users, API/users, which is still here. Before that, let's check our database. I have a bunch of users there. And when I make a request to delete, it says all users deleted. Let's make sure if it's deleted, I'm gonna get all the users that I have again, and I have no one anymore. It's empty. So your database is empty, it's not corrupted anymore. You can start from scratch. Yeah, makes sense? All right, that's it for today, and we are 15 minutes early. I was fast, I think. Hope I wasn't. Questions? Yes, Nikki.
Can you please explain one more time when we need to use return and when not, because it was not so clear for me. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. The return, take it in this way. You want to do some if condition sometimes because you will have it later. Also, we want to do this here. We can do it here. Let's do that here. What if I'm gonna find a user with ID? Yeah, let's say let me create a user for now because I don't have any in my database. This is the user in my database, created Osama. I'm gonna take the ID of the Osama and let's say I want to make a request to this endpoint for getting a specific user. So I'm gonna replace this to this one. So I'm gonna take it. This request goes to this one, correct? To get a specific user. We take the ID, we go to the database, find by ID, and then we send that user to the front end. Look at that. Bang. Okay, great. What if the user that we're looking for doesn't exist? Let's say I know this ID was for Shinedu. I remember that last time, I don't know. I'm gonna say, give me this person. I don't have it in my database, I'm sure, because I deleted everything. And I say, give this person to me. And you can see, it's bad. We receive nothing. You have to think about all of these cases. It's not an error, everything is fine. but your database just said I didn't find anything, because this thing is returning undefined, I think, and we're sending like undefined or a null, or I don't know what is it. Let's console log that. What is it actually? Come on, I'm lazy to type. Console log find user. Let's make a request to see the console log. Check the console log here. Let's see what we receive from this one. Make a request again. Bang. You can see it's null. This gives us null, and we're just sending the null to the front end. It's bad. You as a backend developer, if you send this response to your front end guy is sitting there, hey, what are you doing, Mickey? What is it? Did you find it or not? Yeah. So you have to think about all the cases. That's why here, because it's not considering an error. If it was an error, it would jump here and would tell that's an error. I couldn't find it. This is just normal. That's an answer null. I couldn't find it. It's not an error to catch it. That's why you have to think about all the cases. What if we don't find, not find user? What if no user? What if this null in this case? You have to handle this. Then you want to say next, like to prepare a nice error, because this is not an error, it was just a null, and we want to prepare a nice error. Give it to our global error handler ourselves. We can say status, and it couldn't find it. We know that. Then that should be a 404, not found. And with a nice message, we say user not found. Fantastic. Now you have this. All right. Now you say when to use return, because you want to stop the process here. You send the error and that's it. I didn't find it. You don't want that it goes there. There is two ways. You can just not to use return, but you have to use else here, and you put the else, whatever you do after that, inside of else. Yeah. Then this means either this or this, because if you don't even use return, it never goes to else. That's the if and else we have. But because I don't use else most of the time, it's like this, then it runs this and comes out also runs that. That's bad. You don't want to send two responses. Then that's why I say return here, stop here, don't go. That's why I do this. Is it clear?
Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. Let's test it again now. And Okile, yeah.
Just quick. Does it matter where you place the return? Like you just place it below this code. I placed it like I think before next, and also does the same thing, right?
No, it doesn't, because it never runs. So whatever comes after return never runs. Look at that. What happens now? It just stops here, and this thing never works.
Okay.
See, it's grayed out now, even. I can show you.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it, and you will see it's just returning and not doing nothing, and waiting for a response. Yeah, the order matters. Returns always goes to the end. You say, I want to do this and that and that, and then stop. All right?
Interesting. Okay.
Good. Let's do it again. Now everything should work. Now it says user not found successfully. It's gonna give it to us. Everything is working perfectly. So think about all the cases when you are building your endpoints. Make sure what this line is returning. Is it returning when it's finding that? What is returning? When it's not finding that, what is returning? Is it null, undefined? If it's null, make a nice condition of if it's null or not found or whatever, then I'm going to prepare a nice error. This is always like that, yeah? You will do this a lot. And that's it. That's exactly how companies do. If you go to a company, that's exactly how they do it. Yeah? Okay, we have 9 minutes, and if it's everything clear, then it's okay. We can go to lunch. Great. Get add here. And check status. Yeah. Subdocuments. Subdocuments. Yeah, we talked about subdocuments. Yeah. And get push. All right. It's pushed and you can have it. Okay. So if you don't have any question, anything, then I wish you a good lunchtime. We will be back at 1 p.m. I'm gonna give you an exercise, put it into the exercise channel, and we leave the Google meeting, but we are in the Slack online. You can ask us questions. We jump back in. All right? Fantastic.